Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at the Throne of Sharon trilogy. It's called the Book of Kantela. It's written by Roland J. Green and Frieda A. Murray. It's published in the mid-80s. It's the first of a three-book trilogy. It didn't sell well, so the rest of it never was published. This group of folks are co-writers were in the Michael Moorcock collection that I just did a deep dive into. I like them, so I said I'd grab this novel and check it out and see what I think about it. It's definitely interesting. It's not really of its time in the mid-80s. It's more when I was first starting to read it. I was reading it on the way. I took it with me to my trip on the Amtrak there and back again. And Amtrak trains are always delayed, right? So I got a lot of reading, and I probably knocked out about 60% of the book, but then I accidentally left on the train, so I had to buy a second copy. So that wasn't good. But anyway, I knocked it out last night. It was a slower read. It's 340 pages long, and it's a slower read. At first, I started off thinking, "Is this an A?" Because this is really brilliant, and it's not like really of its time. I've read a lot of fantasy from the 80s. That's when I was a kid growing up. Like R.A. Salvatore's getting published then, Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman were getting published then, right? It was a big time for a lot of fantasy stuff, right? So I was reading a lot of it growing up. But this doesn't feel like that. There's not that much combat. It's really more of a political drama. There's chapters that'll go by very, very slowly without any combat or stuff like that, or fight scenes and such. It's more of a political drama. It's basically, it's called the Throne of Sharon trilogy. Sharon's the name of the kingdom where it takes place, and so I wasn't sure if it was an 8 because it was different and thus it stands out, or if it was more of a 6 because it just lacked a lot of combat, and so it just didn't. So it was a little slower of a read with a lot of world building, sure, stuff like that you would expect for the first book in a trilogy, and it does have an end to it that feels suitable for a first book trilogy. You can set it down. A lot of fun stuff will happen, right? It doesn't leave you wanting more. Kind of like Star Wars. It's the first of a trilogy, but it has an ending that you can. So if this rest of the Empire Strikes Back and stuff had never happened, if it had been a bomb, at least you were left saying, "Oh, it's not a bad thing," right? So I like it. Thought it was good, so I'm giving it a 7 because I'm not sure if I should give it an 8 or because it's just so different from its era. Or 6. As a reminder, this channel's name is The Worst Thing About New Books. That's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about new books was that they kept us from reading the old ones, right? And so this forgotten bomb of a book from the 80s. It's definitely some fun stuff that I wanted to knock out for you folks. And it's different too. It's not of the 80s either, right? So it's decades ago. It's something you probably never heard of before, right? And you probably hadn't heard of it then either. If you were actively reading it, you probably missed it then too. Your friends weren't saying, "Oh, have you read, Roland Green and Frieda Murray's latest book in this series they just launched called the Book of Kantela?" So clearly it wasn't getting buzzed then either, right? But I liked it, going back and reading it and so forth. I liked it. It was good stuff. And again, they were a short story that I really liked in the collection set in the Eternal Champion, Bonnet Chaos. So I wanted to stick with them. It's a slow read. It took me a little longer for me to read. It's oversized, just like, and so those are normally slower. And then their pace is slower too. So it probably took me a longer pace than you would expect from 340 pages on an oversized. Right, it probably took me like an hour and 15 minutes for me to read 25 pages, right? It was a slow read. So that's it, right? But I liked it. I thought it was fun, and I'm giving it a 7 to it for you folks. So there you are. Have you read it? If so, what you think about it? Let's talk about in the comments below, whatever your thoughts are. Or if you agree or disagree with my 7 out of 10, because I couldn't figure out if it was an 8 or a 6. And so then, if you like this video, why not hit the subscribe button, the like button, the bell button if you're feeling frisky, and let all your friends know too. And then finally, I just want to pause just to take a moment to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it in watching my video, because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, right? And we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.